So, I had this question that I just couldn't shake. Can you actually use AI tools to build a real livable income, from absolute scratch? I decided to find out. I gave myself 30 days and I documented everything. And look, this isn't some polished theoretical guide. This is the unfiltered, down in the trenches story of what really happened. Let's get into it.
And I'm not being dramatic. This whole experiment kicked off with what felt like a complete soul-crushing failure, but it ended up somewhere I honestly never saw coming. This is the full story. What worked, what was a spectacular train wreck, and the one crucial shift in thinking that changed the entire game.
All right, so here was the mission. And yeah, it sounds a little crazy. I wanted to see if I could use the AI tools that are available to literally anyone to replace my income. No special connections, no giant budget, just me, my laptop, and a 30-day countdown timer ticking away. We're going to walk through this entire 30-day roller coaster. You're going to see my first strategy, why it failed so badly, the big pivot that saved the whole thing, and of course, the final verdict. This was a super high-stakes experiment for me, and you're coming along for every single step of the ride.
Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the first 2 weeks. To put it bluntly, they were a nightmare. I was working nonstop, just fueled by coffee and this kind of blind optimism, and I was getting absolutely nowhere. I was so frustrated. So my first idea was the one I think most people have. It seems so logical. I'd just use AI to become a content factory, churning out hundreds of articles, social media posts, you name it. I figured it had to be a numbers game, right? More content equals more success. Simple.
Well, there was a massive problem. All that content, it was just bland. I mean, sure, the grammar was perfect, but it had no soul, no spark. It was completely generic, and it read exactly like what it was, something a machine wrote. And the internet's response? Crickets. Total silence. My view counts were flat. Engagement was a big, fat 0. It felt like I was shouting into a void, just adding more noise to the internet. Seeing all that work get completely ignored was brutal. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. This was the breaking point. Because I was pumping out so much low-quality stuff, some platforms started flagging my accounts for spam. I wasn't just being ignored anymore, I was actually getting punished. The whole strategy was blowing up in my face. So, let's recap. 15 straight days of work. Half the experiment already gone. My total income? 0. Nothing. Not a single dollar. I was completely exhausted, totally demoralized, and honestly, I was right on the verge of quitting. But right there at rock bottom, something just clicked. It hit me. I was using one of the most powerful analytical tools ever invented as a glorified word processor. I wasn't being strategic. I was just churning out junk. It was time to throw the old plan in the trash and start over. And this, right here, this slide shows you the entire pivot. This was the light bulb moment. I stopped asking the AI to write for me and started asking it to think with me. I shifted from using AI as a content creator to using it as my personal, superpowered research analyst.
The big secret wasn't finding a better AI or some magical prompt. It was changing my entire workflow. I stopped asking things like, write me a blog post about fishing, and I started asking, analyze the top 10 fishing blogs and tell me what topics they're all missing. Totally different ballgame.
So here's what that new workflow looked like. Step 1, I used the AI to scan forums, reviews, and social media to find problems people were complaining about. Real underserved niches. Step 2, I had it analyze the few competitors in those spaces and point out all their weaknesses. And then for step 3, armed with all that data, I'd ask it to generate business ideas that would perfectly fill those gaps.
So, the big question is, did this new data-driven approach actually work? Well, let me tell you, the second half of the month was like night and day compared to the first. Let's just look at the proof. In those last 15 days, using AI as my analyst, I found these little pockets of opportunity and created targeted products for them. And the result was actual, tangible income. The number you're seeing here isn't some projection or guess. That's the real revenue that came in.
I mean, this chart says it all, doesn't it? The first half of the month with that mass content strategy brought in $0. The second half using the targeted analysis strategy, well, you see the result. The difference is just stark. It's proof that how you use the tool is so much more important than the tool itself.
So, after all that, what is the big takeaway here? If there is just one thing I want you to remember from this whole 30-day journey, it's about avoiding the one critical mistake that I think almost everyone makes.
Just think about it for a second. When you first sit down with an AI tool to try and build something or make some money, what's your first instinct? What's the very first thing you ask it to do?
The mistake is treating the AI like a content factory. It's asking it to do the very last step, the creation, without using its real power for the first, most important steps, the strategy, the research, the analysis. The key is this: stop telling the AI what to make and start asking it what you should make.
And that's really the bottom line. The true power, the real leverage with AI, it doesn't come from getting it to write the answer for you. It comes from partnering with it to find the gaps in the market, to see the hidden opportunities, and to help you ask much smarter questions than your competition is asking. That was the secret that changed everything for me.